This episode, we're the worst. Welcome to the Grand Affidavit. He is Grant.
He's David.
Nailed it. We get it every time. We're so good. This episode, we are talking about a couple of the worsts, I guess is how we could say it. First off, we're going to talk about worst jobs. So, Grant, have you ever had a job that you would consider the worst job?
Well, not really. I mean, I've worked in a window shop where I built windows, and that was fine. I worked in a furniture shop. That was fine. I've worked for my dad's company the most of the time. You know, that was fine. Mostly paperwork and stuff. I worked at Wendy's for a while.
Oh.
I guess most people would go, that's got to be the worst. But it was really fun. It was the late shift, so between like 10 and 3 or 4 in the morning.
Did you ever, put anything in someone's food?
No. I was a good employee.
All right.
I would spend my nights when we were doing cleanup or when we were in between things. Yeah. I would mostly sing Tenacious D songs and Disney songs at the top of my lungs.
I like it. I had one job. I've had more than one job, but this one specific job that was the worst job. I only worked for 1 week. I was asked by my dad. He was working at this job, and he said one year over Christmas break, do you want to come work with me for a week? Because we got 2 weeks off over Christmas, right? So it was the week between Christmas and New Year's. I said, sure, why not? Make some extra money. So at the time, he actually worked at a pig nursery. So, yeah, so it was the step before the pigs went off to, when they're all grown up, and then eventually they get slaughtered, right? So friends of PETA, you might want to turn the podcast off right now. But I had, in that 1 week, some of the most disgusting things I've ever seen happened in that week, or experienced, I should say. One of them, I'll try and paint a picture for you. So this is how the pig barns, they had a bunch of them, but each one was laid out the exact same. When you went in through a door, and there was a room where you took your boots off and, whatever, like your coveralls that you were wearing outside. Then you went into another room, which had a shower. And then you went into another room, which had clean boots and clean coveralls. And then finally you went into like the middle room of the pig barn. So in the middle is where you had all your tools and, food carts and whatever. And then on either side, there were these long barns that were about the length of a football field or so on either side. And so we pull up to this building. And on the first door, because there's a door between each of those rooms, you can kind of sort of slightly hear something, and we open the door, and as you come into the next room, it's a little bit louder, and it's just like this faint sort of scratching noise. And then we go in, through the shower room, we get closer, and we get to the final room, putting our boots and our coveralls on, and you can clearly hear there's something on the other side of the door, something going on. Meanwhile, we're the only ones going, like, in this building, first ones of the day. We finally go into that middle room, and we walk over to a feeding cart. So they're like, these carts probably stand about waist high. So, like a couple feet high or whatever. And they're made of smooth plastic. They're pretty big. Like I'd say they're about the size of a shopping cart. And you just fill it with food, and then you go to all the pens and you throw food in there. Well, we walk over to this cart, and inside the cart, there are hundreds of mice crawling over top of each other. Because someone had left the cart the day before next to a wall. So all these mice climbed up like a rough concrete wall, got into the food cart, but then couldn't get out because it was smooth plastic on the inside. And so we walk in, and I think it was like an Indiana Jones movie where there's like the snake pit and there's just like snakes crawling over each other. It was just like that, but with mice. So it was just like, you saw it and you're like, ugh. First thought is, well, what do we do, right? They're all alive, crawling. We can't just dump this out. There's gonna be hundreds of mice running all over the floor.
Hit them with hockey sticks.
Hit them, and we are Canadian. We probably should have. Just, all right, dump it over. Let's see how many we could fire into that bin over there. No, so what we ended up doing is we ended up filling the cart with water and drowning them all. And then later in the day, my dad, because he was the manager of this site, had to dump it out and then clean up the hundreds of dead mice and the mushed food. So I was glad I wasn't a part of the back end of that, but it was probably one of the grossest things I've ever, just like, I don't know why mice are so gross, but they just are. I mean, in Alberta, we don't have rats, so maybe it could have been worse, or we quote unquote don't have rats.
Well, rats are cleaner than mice.
Oh, I know. But another gross thing that made this job the worst job is when you would actually get into one of the barns to feed the pigs. Pigs are scared, right? So they just scatter as soon as you come into the room. Now, how each of these pens were set up is at the back, they had a grate where they could do their business on, right? They could crap, they could, pee, and it would all go in this grate and then get washed away. At the front of the pens, they had a heating pad for them to lie on. Well, you know how pigs work. They just ended up crapping all over the heating pad. And then when you would walk into the room, they'd scatter. So you'd have literally liquefied warm pig crap flying through the air, splashing you in the face. It was pretty terrible.
Seems like it's not well thought out here.
Easily my worst job I ever had. And it was only a week, and it left me with a lifetime of memories. Well,
I brought up the hockey sticks because when I was in, before I moved to Canada, when I was in 7th or 8th grade, there was a mouse in my brother's room.
Yeah.
And the first thing we thought of was grab the hockey sticks. So all three of us grabbed hockey sticks and tried to negotiate it out the door.
Negotiate it. And by negotiate, you mean wind up with a huge slap shot and splatter it all over the wall?
It was mostly wrist shots.
You want to send him flying. That's great.
We got it outside eventually.
So what would you say would be the worst job to ever work?
Well, it was you're talking about a bunch of pig crap. And I mean, I guess that's bad, but I think I could handle gross stuff like that.
Right.
I think I really hate anything that has to do with customer service.
Yeah.
For a long time, I would answer the phone calls at work, and it would be people going, I need to schedule a service call, and my heater is down, and it's cold. I'm like, it's 75 degrees, man.
You don't know.
It's I need you here today. And I'm like, well, we can't get there today.
Right. Yeah.
So customer service is horrible. Dealing with people that have a problem that don't understand that it can't be taken care of right away, and they're entitled. And a lot of the people that we dealt with were in really big houses.
Yeah.
So it's just oh.
I've definitely, I for a short time, couple months, I worked as a service writer at an auto garage. I guess a garage, that's redundant. So people would come in with their cars and trucks and whatever, and they'd have issues, and they'd be mad at you, and they'd be complaining, oh, I can't believe this, or however much it's going to cost to fix this or that. And if they're not mad at you, the mechanics in the back are mad at you because you're not giving them enough work, or you're giving them too much work. I'm like, who would want to do this as a job? It's just ridiculous. But I was thinking about this, and this is actually what got me thinking about doing an episode about worst jobs. This might be up there because the gross things I'm not a big fan of. But I was driving to work the other day, and a guy passed me going the other way who was driving a pickup truck. And in the back of the pickup truck, he had a porta potty. And I was thinking, this is someone's business, to go and deliver porta potty, especially for events or whatever, right? So they're literally these things are designed to move around. And so they're hopping around with these porta potties in the back of their truck, or, and then cleaning up the mess, vacuuming. I just feel like it would smell horrible. And I feel like you would not be able to get that smell out of you, out of the work clothes, out of your nose, whatever. So I was like, that is something.
Well, it's funny you say out of you because that's how I get it out.
Yeah.
Get it out.
You get it out. Yeah, so that was just one thing. I was like, I really don't think I'd ever want to do that. And I'm sure there are worse jobs than, driving the crap vacuum truck. But, I at the moment I was like, nope, no, that sounds about it. That's got to be the worst.
Well, I mean, you're just suctioning out the little tank at the bottom there, right? You're suctioning that out. And then you mostly just hose it down.
I watched a while ago. It was and obviously technologies have changed probably since then, but it was this documentary following this guy. A documentary is probably a very loose term, but it was a YouTube video following this guy, and it was I think it was Woodstock '94 or whatever, the one where Green Day played and he got mud all over his guitar. Anyways, was that 90? I don't know what that was, but anyways, it was him. His job was literally vacuuming up the crap from all the outhouses at Woodstock. And my thought is, how many outhouses there have to be at a place like that when you have that many thousands of people? I'm like, that's just a lot of crap you're sucking up every day. I was like, no, I couldn't do it. I think I'll pass on that. But
Yeah, because when you brought that up, I was thinking about Coachella. The one time I went there,
Yeah.
just the rows upon rows upon rows.
Yeah.
And then there's the people that are camping on site.
Yeah.
So it's like those toilets are used all through the night when they're, tripping on whatever, and they got 5 pints of whatever in them.
Well, I was
tequila.
I was gonna say, like hoppy beers, IPAs, they make your crap smell so horrible that and being on the West Coast for Coachella, I'm sure there's a good number of IPAs available, and just the amount that people would be drinking. Yeah, I don't know. I would want to pass on that one. I just don't think it would be worth it. Okay, so
I imagine that in the campground area, somebody is on like shrooms or something, then they become coherent again when they're like in the tank of the porta potty.
Right.
They thought it was a good idea to climb through the toilet seat and down in there.
Much like Train Spotting, crawling into
much
the toilet.
like Train Spotting. Yeah. At least you don't have. At least as the person that suctions out those things, you don't have to hose that guy off.
Okay, from worst jobs, we're going to go to worst injuries. Now, I hope this one's not going to be. I mean, we literally just talked about vacuuming crap and all that kind of stuff. But so let's see where this worst injury goes on the Queasy factor. What's your worst injury that you ever experienced that happened to you?
I haven't had that many bad injuries. I sprained my ankle really bad one time when I was in Canada moving hay around. So there's that. And then other than that, I cut my nose really bad. I shattered a light ceiling fixture. Mm-hmm. In the dark, and it fell right on my nose and almost cut my nose off.
Wow.
So I got that super glued on.
That's pretty great.
So, yeah, but the worst injury really that I had was when I was a young lad. We were playing. My cousins were over, and we were playing like Follow the Leader.
Yeah.
Because that's how people get injured all the time, playing Follow the Leader when they're like 8.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so we all went up on this rock, and one at a time jumped off the rock onto the sidewalk. But the rock was only like 6 inches high. And so I jumped, but I didn't jump at all. I just kind of like tipped over, and my whole body landed in the mud except for my left elbow, which landed right on the cement, and it just dislocated my elbow. And dislocating an elbow is really tough to do. If you try to dislocate it, you're more likely just going to break a bunch of bones before you even get it dislocated. You have to hit it just perfectly. And so that's what happened. And then I cried and cried and cried and cried, and my mom drove me to the hospital, and then they put me under, and then I woke up with a cast on. I'm
just imagining how graceful you were jumping off a 6-inch rock. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I was about 6 inches tall. Yeah.
Jumping off this rock and managing to wipe out and dislocate your elbow. That must have been something to see.
All I had to do was jump across the muddy area, and it was like 24 inches maybe.
Yeah.
But I just like tipped over basically. That's all it was. I was just tipping over, no jumping, no nothing.
And this is why Grant pursued drama more so than sports as he later, got older in life or whatever.
I could play baseball.
I know. That's why I said as you got older, you realized, dude, I can't even jump off a 6-inch rock. I should probably just stick to stage work.
I did a lot of dancing.
Oh, there we go. There we go. So you were a little bit graceful at least. My worst injury, I didn't have a lot of injuries, but I did have a couple that were pretty memorable, including nearly cutting myself a new asshole. When I was like 5 or 6, do you know what trackball is?
I have no idea what that is.
So, essentially it's just catch, right? But instead of, having a baseball glove or whatever and a ball, you have this big plastic contraption that kind of looks like a glorified glove, and you catch the ball in that, and you also throw the ball with it. Anyways.
Yeah, okay, I think I know it. I think I know what that is now, yeah.
So I was playing this with a friend or whatever. My sister was playing soccer. We were at her soccer game, and I was playing trackball with this other kid. And as we're throwing it back and forth, I took a step backwards, and I fell onto a broken beer bottle that was there that I didn't see. It was in the grass or whatever. And literally, for, maybe this is too much information, but I still have the scar on my ass cheek. Fell and cut myself deep enough that I needed 12 stitches, 6 deep and then 6 on top or whatever. And my main concern when this happened, because my body probably went into shock and I didn't really feel the cut, was that I was bleeding all over my tighty whities. and that I ruined my underwear. That was my main concern with this injury when it happened. Another one.
But did you ruin your underwear?
Well, yeah. I don't think I ever wore them ever again. Another one that was equally as memorable. This one's a little more gruesome. I like telling this story to people. But I was in grade 5, and I was watching my dad play hockey. He played on like a beer league team, and he was playing in goal. And so I was at the game, and me and this other kid were sitting in the player's box, and he closed the door a player came off the ice. So he closed the door, and when he closed the door, my fingers got jammed in the door, like on the hinge side or whatever. And so, thinking hockey rink, like those are thick doors, right? So I kind of like look over in shock. I'm like, can you open the door? And he opens the door, and I pull my hand out, and then immediately like cover, like put it into my coat or whatever, just like in my sleeve or my coat or whatever. And this guy's sitting on the bench, and he goes, can I look? And so I show him. He's like, and my skin had broken at like my first knuckle, like from the end of my finger or whatever. And he's like, those are your fingernails. So it crushed my fingers, and my fingernails actually broke through the skin at my knuckle. So when I go to the hospital, the doctor's like, okay, we're going to remove these fingernails because we need to put some stitches in here. Yeah. So the doctor like froze me up or whatever, pulled my fingernails out. Like it was so disturbing, like literally grabbed them, cut them, and pulled them out. And then I got stitches in my nail bed. And it was just, gross. Oh man. And like one night, during my, recovery, as it was healing up, I took my bandages off because it was kind of getting better. And I went to bed, and in the middle of the night, one of the stitches got caught and ripped, and I woke up covered in blood because it just bled all night. And it was, anyways, that was...
Did you ruin your sheets?
Did I ruin my sheets? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did. I got to quit bleeding all over stuff. Happens way too often. And another memorable...
What about your pajamas? Were your pajamas ruined too?
I don't remember. I think I wasn't wearing a shirt, that's for sure. But another memorable injury around that same time, I want to say it was like the summer after my fingers or maybe the summer before. I was at a friend's house, and we were just, I forget what we were doing. We were playing a game on the floor. It was like Hot Wheels or something. And I leaned back, and in his carpet, he had kind of like shag carpeting. There was a fish hook, and it got caught in my arm. And so when I sat back up, you could actually see the hook went in and then almost broke through the skin again on the other side. So it was like my skin bumped up. So when I went to the doctor, taking it out, she actually accidentally broke it in my arm. And then so I had to cut my skin open to get the fish hook out. But
there was just a fish hook lying there.
I don't know. They went fishing, but it must have just gotten dropped and no one noticed it because it was, like I said, like shag carpeting, so you couldn't really see it. And so when I sat up, the first thing I noticed was that my arm kind of tugged. I was like, what was that? Because of the fish hook, trying to pull its way through the shag carpeting. But yeah, so those were a couple injuries that the finger one was the worst for sure. But because
That's gross, yeah.
But because she pulled my fingernails out, I didn't end up, how some people, after they've lost a fingernail, they end up with weird fingernails, right? Yeah. Well, my fingernails are perfectly normal because instead of letting it grow out and push the old nail out, she just pulled them out. It was excruciating, but and my mom, in all her sensitivities, she comes to the hockey arena because my dad's playing. I don't even think he knew anything happened. All of a sudden, I'm just gone, and my mom comes to pick me up to take me to the hospital, and I'm lying on the floor of like the front office or whatever, the hockey arena, my hands on a bag of ice, my feet are elevated. And she was like, wow, don't you look good? And then she goes, yeah, I'm kind of annoyed. I was watching Arachnophobia. You interrupted my movie. I'm like, Mom, I'm like in so much pain, about to pass out. And she's just like cracking jokes about how weak and feeble I look. Classic moms.
Yeah, she sounds like she loves you.
I don't doubt that she loves me, but it was one of those moments. So yeah,
you've definitely had worse injuries than I've ever had,
and worse jobs apparently. Man, my life has sucked compared to yours.
I don't know about that.
No, I think my life's been pretty good, but yeah, I was kind of surprised you didn't have any, real bad job stories. I was hoping when you said Wendy's, you're going to be like, you had customers complaining all the time or whatever, but you worked the late shift. Was that when you were in college?
Yeah, it was because I broke 2 windows at the college. so I had to pay them back, and I didn't have any other money, so I had to get a job.
Classic. Now, how did you break the windows? Were you just being an idiot?
Well, the first one they gave me a pass on. We were playing a game of like capture the flag in Red Deer College campus.
Yep.
And my friend was trying to get to the safe zone, and I was hiding, waiting for him to come by so I could tag him and relieve him of the flag.
Yeah.
But then he got distracted from me tagging him, and he put his arm through the safety glass with the wires and all that stuff.
Yeah. So did he end up with a nasty injury?
Good. Yeah, he had a huge gash.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
And then the other one was I was in the courtyard area, and I mooned somebody that was up on the bridge that was filled with windows. We called it the fishbowl area, lots of tables and stuff.
Yeah.
And then he faked like he was going to run after me, and so then I ran around, and then I ended up just giving up on this whole runaway thing. And I just walked up there, and he basically spanked me, and then I tripped over a backpack into a window and broke it.
What? I clearly did not have the same college experience as you did. I did not get spanked by.
Well, I was in theater program. What do you want?
You guys are crazy, man.
Yep.
I thought you were going to say that in the end you weren't going to be actually responsible for either broken window. Like when you mooned him, he just like banged on the window, and it broke. But no, you went through at least one of them. So
yeah.
And did you end up paying them back?
Yeah, for the second window, which was the more expensive window anyways.
Yeah. Oh, man. So that's great. Anyways, that is we're running out of time. So we're going to wrap it up right here. It's been another great episode of just terrible things. If you want to look us up on Twitter, follow us at Grand Affidavit. Or we really only tweet about ourselves.
Oh, wow. Did you realize that sounds like our names?
I never realized that, actually. And if you want to look us up on Facebook, just the Grand Affidavit on there as well. But yes, this is going to do it for another one. Come back and hang out with us again next time, where we might talk about things that are less disgusting or more disgusting. Who knows? But in the meantime, bye.